This video will be a quick one, but I want to talk about the new binding vow, Enchained, since I sort of skipped over it on my initial update review, since I didn't care much for it as a casual ranked kind of thing. However, it is pretty interesting because of how it works, because on one level, it might actually be the worst binding vow in the game, but on another, it's kind of goated? Actually, before I made this video, my original script, based off of my talks with other testers regarding Enchained, was going to be bashing it, talking about how it sucks and how Z could make it better. Unfortunately for me, though, I played a ton of casual matches to get footage for this video, and Enchained is actually kind of good? Let me rephrase that. It's really dependent on how you use it, what scenario you're in, and who you're fighting. But Enchained is both a terrible binding vow, and maybe the best in the game. And this video is going to go over that. Before that though, make sure to subscribe so that you get notified about any other JJS updates. Now, let's talk about Enchained. First, explaining the effects. If you pick Enchained, you get 10% more ult gain by default. It's worse than True Love in how much ult you get, but it is helpful at the end of the day. You also get a full heal when you awaken, rather than the measly 30 or 40 heal, and I honestly can't remember the exact amount of that you get by default. Your awakening is replaced with Sukuna no matter what, which is good or bad depending on who you're playing, and to balance out all of these features, you get one key drawback. For the first 12 seconds of your awakening, you can't do anything except walk. No unwanting, no using moves, which is fine, but you are also denied the ability to dash and the ability to block, which is why I call this binding vow potentially one of the worst. If the drawback was as it said and it simply prevented you from attacking, you'd actually be able to use a full heal. You're still vulnerable, sure, since you can't fight back and the opponent could still bum rush you with zero risk, because again, no attacking means no punishing, but you'd still be able to stall out those 12 seconds through good defense. However, since you can't block or dash, you both can't avoid certain attacks that need to be blocked, and you can't create distance either or dodge attacks that need to be dodged, like literally any guard break. So, you're essentially a punching bag for those entire 12 seconds that's about as dangerous as the regular dummy. It's hard to stall out those 12 seconds without taking substantial damage, and against anybody who isn't an idiot, as long as you're not using Yuji, they'll notice that your awakening is Sukuna despite you not being Yuji, and know to bum rush you to cut you down before you can actually fight back. In those 12 seconds, it's very easy to kill you because you can't do anything, and theoretically, that makes a lot of these benefits useless. More awakening gain is good, sure, but if your awakening gets shut down the moment you use it, it's not all that meaningful unless you're Choso or Todo, who spend ult meter rampantly. The full heal would be good too, but whatever damage you take during the vulnerability phase is going to outpace it for sure, if not just straight up killing you. You can't use it to turn the tide of a bad match, and you're more limited to only being able to use it after you've nabbed the kill, basically as a win more button if you get lucky and they spawn far away enough to shave off 4 and 5 seconds from the clock, which you're still going to take damage right away, or a waste all your awakening and brutally die if they spawn right on top of you. At least in theory. There's a reason why the background footage you're seeing from me ranting about the binding vow being bad is not my own. See, this was my old opinion on Enchained, which I came through a lot of discussions in the JJS Discord, and it's not unfounded. There are actually some insane combos you can do that would indeed kill someone using Enchained very easily. But it's a casual ranked thing, and in casual ranked, guess what? Nobody knows how to play the effing game. As we'll see with my background footage, Enchained ends up working far more often than not. The full heal does actually end up being pretty good, as long as you're not using Yuji, Megumi, or Locust Guy, who have 15 less HP and will get their HP erased. And it's enough that paired with some already established distance, or some missed attacks by whoever's trying to kill you, that you can survive fairly easily. Hell, against this one guy in Ranked, they were actually able to survive after popping Enchained against me, and while part of that is on me for poorly using my moves, since what I should have done was M1 them and use Rough Energy as well as Fever Breaker, then use M1 and Shutter Doors when I knew they were nearing the end of the vulnerability period to gain even more damage, I didn't do that. I did my bread and butter combo out of habit, and that's how a lot of JJS players do this. The binding vow is only good because of how stupid the average JJS player is, but that still means it's good at the end of the day. Even with decent players who combo you, you'll still usually only lose at most 75% of your HP, and by the time their combo ends, you'll be scotch-free to massacre them with your Sukuna Awakening. Enchained gets even better when you look at the fact that it replaces your Awakening with Sukuna, which is one of the best in the game. because if you pair that with characters that have bad awakenings, like Choso or Todo, or pair it with someone like Grasshopper Curse that has no awakening at all, well guess what? You just removed one of your character's core weaknesses. It's actually insane how good Enchained can be because of how it replaces your awakening, and again, if you use it after a kill, it can be insanely good since you're shaving likely 6 seconds off your timer. And while yeah, they're still gonna combo you, most characters aren't going to be able to punish you that hard for it outside of good players that know their combo game very well, which you're extremely unlikely to find in casual ranked. I kid you not, I went crazy trying to make this video because of how awful it was getting footage for it. I played ranked with this expectation in my mind that Enchained sucks, because that's what it was theoretically, but I both underestimated the sheer stupidity of JJS players and overestimated how much damage you really can do in 12 seconds. No, seriously, try using Enchained yourself and you'll probably be fine, despite the fact that you should be getting beat up horribly for doing it. This is casual ranked, where a lot of people aren't very good, so they don't recognize what Enchained is, and that you're supposed to wail on the person you're fighting if they're awakening as Sukuna when they shouldn't be otherwise. Instead, their brain, which loves to pair the sight of an awakening with a flight instinct embedded in all of us, decides that standing in the opposite corner, waiting for those 12 seconds to pass, is the right course of action. It's hilarious, but also depressing if you're actually trying to make a video about the thing. And even with people who know full well how to stop Enchained, it's still not that easy to actually stop the thing. Against both a bad player who I literally told the function of Enchained to because I was so fed up with people running away from my awakening, and against a good player who did his best to stop me, I was able to stall at those 12 seconds fairly easily without taking any substantial damage. Again, you should be getting destroyed, you should be losing all of your HP, but those 12 seconds passed by surprisingly quickly, and even without all your defensive options, unless you're playing Megami who you actually really need those against, the worst you'll usually eat is a pretty harsh combo. Now, in Awakening vs Awakening combat, the story's probably different. 12 helpless seconds against an Awakening usually just means flat out death, especially since you have no dash, dodge, or all purple, or whatever dumb move that other person has. I wouldn't really know since I only fought one genuinely good player who was able to get Awakening during my fight, during the recording for this video. And we didn't have an Awakening vs Awakening battle since we were both using Enchained, and I also died during my Sukuna Awakening to his base. I really sold there. But yeah, it's probably not great in Awakening vs Awakening combat. However, remember that you have 10% more ult gain, which, as long as you're not on extremely close ground or losing, is enough to ensure that you get your Awakening without having to worry too hard about the other guy Awakening right back at ya. At least, that's the case if you aren't burning up Awakening with Choso, but generally it shouldn't be a problem. It's a surprisingly solid binding vow that's way better than I thought it would be, but also still not something I can call good without fighting more good players. So, to answer the big question, is Enchained good? I don't know. The experience you have with this damn thing is going to be so different for everybody. 90% of the time it's decent, or hell, really good if you're pairing it with Choso or Kogai, since people struggle to capitalize on your vulnerability period, and especially if you use it after a kill, and get lucky before they spawn. You can stall out those 12 seconds without that much difficulty if you get lucky. On the other hand, there's that 10% of players who spend all their time sweating, and by the time you've gotten out of that 12-second period, you're either already dead or on death's door. It's such a hard binding vow for me to evaluate because in theory, it sucks. In practice, it has examples of it sucking, but from my personal experience, it's insanely good. So you know what? Screw it. You guys tell me what you think of Enchained. Do you think it's broken? Think it's weaker than side character of the week going up against Sukuna? Tell me in the comments, because I have no clue. Anyways, that's it for today. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to subscribe since it helps out a ton, and I'll see you next time in the next video. I'm Eternally, have a great day, and bye.